With the NBA trade deadline approaching, that also means the buyout market will heat up thereafter, or at least it used to mean that. But now during the 2024-25 NBA season, and with the new CBA kicking in with it, that will heavily limit, if not eliminate, the buyout market, or at least the one that we used to know. With the new CBA, that will heavily limit both first apron and second apron teams from the buyout market. If you're not aware, not only are they restricted through a trade, but even signing free agents too. They are no longer allowed to sign a player that was waived during the regular season and had a pre-existing salary of over $12.9 million, aka the mid-level exception, which about half the players in the NBA, or at least the valuable ones, do tend to have. And with that in mind here, will that completely eliminate the buyout market for the Lakers, who do happen to be a first apron team? Or might they be able to get lucky with a guy that becomes available that made less than that amount? We'll talk about it, who they'll be restricted from signing, guys that I've seen a few of you mentioning, and then a few guys that they still might be able to get. But before we get too far into it, let's go over our game day picks with Underdog Fantasy, the best way to get in on the NBA action this season. And if you're a new signup, you can pick Nikola Jokic to have higher than 0.5 points later tonight. So yeah, take advantage of that free pick. But then for my picks, for pick number 1, I got LeBron having higher than 1.5 3-point shots. He's now made 2 or more in 5 straight games, so I think he can again tonight. Then for pick number 2, I got Alex Sarr having higher than 6.5 rebounds. He's had that in 3 straight games now, and the Lakers do tend to give up a lot of rebounds, so he probably will be able to get more than that. Then for my third and final pick, I got Kaishan George having higher than 1.5 assists. But if you're looking to make your own picks, then be sure to check out Underdog Fantasy, and don't forget to use code JSM to get your free pick, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make a deposit. But now getting back to our topic, and again, with the new buyout market and the rules that will come with it from the new CBA, will the Lakers be able to take advantage of it, or will they have to completely ignore it and not be able to use it? Well, that depends on who you're talking about. If you're talking about a guy like Lonzo Ball, for example, who may or may not be traded or may or may not be bought out, but may potentially get bought out, or a guy like Malcolm Brogdon or even Bruce Brown Jr., all of which have been linked to the buyout market, saying that their respective teams will look to trade them, but if not, may look to waive them and try to work out a buyout with them, aka them giving back money to become a free agent and then join a different team thereafter. No, the Lakers would not be able to sign them. All 3 of them are currently making over $12.9 million, unfortunately, and therefore they would not be allowed to sign them, even if they wanted to. So gone are the days of them signing guys like Markieff Morris back in 2019-2020, Andre Drummond the year after, or even Spencer Dinwiddie like last season. This season, they would not be allowed to sign any of them. All of them made more than $12.9 million in that respective year, so they would not be able to sign them, or a different player like I referred to before, whether it be a guy like Lonzo Ball, Malcolm Brogdon, or Bruce Brown Jr. However, even with that being said, there might be a few guys that make under $12.9 million that could become available on the open market. And we'll go over a few of them, talk about if the Lakers would or should sign them, and which of them might be a valuable addition to their team if they would become available. And for bio candidate number 1, here we have Vasilije Micic of the Charlotte Hornets. He is 31 years old and only in his second year in the NBA, but does have plenty of background playing point guard, which the Lakers could definitely use more of. They played about a decade over in Europe and played point guard for a majority of that time frame, even winning MVP over in Europe too. And while he hasn't really panned out that well in the NBA, he definitely could be a bio candidate and might be able to contribute better on a different team. And if there's one thing you can offer your team, it would be playmaking ability, currently averaging about 3.5 assists per game and only about 20 minutes per game, aka about 6.5 of them per 36 minutes. Last season averaging 8 assists per game per 36 minutes to only 3 turnovers per game. So pretty impressive, all around a talented playmaker, a really good vision point guard, a guy that can find the little spots in the court, find the right guys in the court and make plays happen. Does have good height to see over the top of the defense, is 6'5" and has a good build at 200 pounds for a point guard. You know, maybe not the best overall defender, but won't get pushed around out there. Can knock down the occasional 3-point shot. Wouldn't call him a great or even a good 3-point shooter. Right now a little bit below league average, 34% on about 3.5 attempts per game. Is showing improvement, getting more comfortable with the NBA 3-point line, and might be able to become a decent to even good 3-point shooter eventually. But again, the primary takeaway here with him would be playmaking ability. After LeBron and Austin Reeves, he would become their 3rd best point guard and playmaker at that too. So from that standpoint, he might be a good addition to their team and probably is a fairly likely bio candidate if you ask me. Though another veteran option could be a guy like Alec Burks, currently playing for the Miami Heat and has been in and out of the rotation all season long now, only making a veteran minimum salary, so wouldn't be a buyout candidate per se, but could simply ask to be waived either by their team or if he would be traded to a different team as part of a third or fourth team trade with a Jimmy Butler trade. So from that standpoint, it definitely could happen, and I think he'd be a good addition to their team or any contending team off the bench. Only averaging about 6 points per game, but only in about 16 minutes per game, and shooting 45% from 3 on 3.1 attempts per game, or per 36-minute average, about 7 of them per game. And for about the past half decade now, Alec Burks has been very solid and definitely underrated. Can do a little bit of everything for your team, is a solid albeit unspectacular defender, a good scoring option, can provide some playmaking ability, and overall is a reliable 3-and-D option, albeit not being great at any one thing, except maybe 3-point shooting. That he's pretty darn good at. And for a team like the Lakers who really don't have a good 3-point shooter like him, at least not off the bench, I wish Dalton Knecht would get back to what he was earlier this season, but I'm not sure he ever will. He's definitely hitting that rookie ball, and I definitely prefer a guy like Alec Burks over him, at least in regard to dependability and reliability this season. So if he would ever hit the open market, I definitely think about signing him, and I think the Lakers would too. If not Burks though, another veteran guard option and another point guard option could be either one of Kyle Lowry or Reggie Jackson if Philadelphia keeps on trending downward, which it currently looking is that way for their team. And if it would remain that way, one of them or even both of them might ask to be waived in favor of a different team, and with them both being point guards, I think the Lakers take a look at them. They've been linked to both of them in the past, and Kyle Lowry especially, so they could be a good guard option off the bench and one to give their team more playmaking ability. Now, they're obviously not the players they once were, but Kyle Lowry can still give you some decent defense, good playmaking ability, solid 3-point shooting, and all around a good veteran leader in your locker room too. Then for Reggie Jackson, more of an offensive-minded point guard, a little bit younger, albeit still a bit long in the tooth, now being 35 years old, a little bit more explosive option off the bench, more 3-point shooting, more scoring ability, with point guard ability here and there. Definitely a downgrade defensively compared to Kyle Lowry, but overall, 2 point guard options that I think at the bare minimum, one of them will become available, either due to being waived, asked to be waived, or even being traded and then waived. I think it's fairly likely that one of them will hit the open market. But then for our final option, I want to give one big man option, and although they're not made to pick from, definitely not in regard to a bio candidate, one of them might be playing for the Washington Wizards. No, not Jonas Valanciunas, that might be a trade option for their team, albeit not a good one if you ask me, but instead a number 2 overall draft pick back in 2018, that being Marvin Bagley III. Yes, he is currently hurt, albeit about to come back from injury, and he definitely could be a bio candidate. He barely is under the cutoff point for a bio candidate for a first apron team, making $12.5 million this season, about $400K below that apron threshold, and they would be able to sign him if he did hit the open market. And while he might not be the most attractive option, yes, definitely has underperformed this far, has not lived up to his number 2 overall draft pick hype, he could be an interesting addition for their team or really for any team too. And with the Lakers taking a chance on former lottery pick big men lately, a guy like Jackson Hayes for example, I think they would be interested in Marvin Bagley. A power forward center hybrid, primarily a center and definitely does have the size for it, being about 6'10", 11, 235 pounds and very athletic around the rim. Definitely can play that role for them, theoretically could play with Anthony Davis, has shown some 3-point shooting ability, shot 39.1% from beyond the arc last season, albeit on limited shooting volume, was shooting 20% this season prior to getting hurt and has shown a little bit of that with a decent mid-range shot, definitely more talented around the rim and overall has not met his ceiling offensively or defensively for that fact, but there is untapped potential here nonetheless. I think he'd be a fun option for their team. You could argue he'd be an upgrade for their team over Jackson Hayes, Christian Wood if he would ever get healthy, and then their 2-way contract guys too. So from that standpoint, he might be a fun, interesting option. Again, definitely untapped potential here, can be a decent defender when committed, and obviously would help playing with a guy like Anthony Davis. A good rebounder, averaging 10.5 rebounds per 36 minutes, and then a solid offensive player, a talented one, a versatile one, averaging about 19.5 points per game per 36 minutes. So I think he'd be a good option to come off their bench and simply give them more front court versatility, more depth both at center and power forward, and overall another versatile option as well. But with that being said, I think they'll do it for our bio candidates. Again, unfortunately they can't sign a guy making over $12.9 million, and that does rule out a ton of options for them. but there still might be a few left that might hit the open market, and I would definitely be interested in a few of them if that would happen. With that being said though, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the buyout market outlook and their team's buyout market outlook in particular? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.